At the extreme southeast of Central America lies one of our planet's most important geographical accidents, the Darien Isthmus. There, joining Central and South America, is Panama. This land bridge separates the water of two oceans, the Atlantic and the Pacific. Although the country boasts several airports, most arrivals fly to Panama City, the nation's capital. From there, it is still another couple of hours' journey to one of Panama's most important provinces, Colón. Our final destination, Portobelo, is situated at one end of this area, both beautiful and of difficult access. And frankly, the best way to get there is by transfer vehicle. The trip is a delight for the enthralled tourist. It is to be remembered that, in antiquity, Portobelo was whipped by the cannon fire of cruel pirates such as Francis Drake or Henry Morgan. Empty spaces, an environment where the most solitary of beings seem to want to be found. Passing of time has wrinkled the cold framework metallized in the past. This loneliness has not been abandoned, and today, those who travel thousands of feet up high fly over here. A crossroads of races and cultures, the Republic of Panama is inhabited by descendants of Spanish conquistadors, dark-skinned coastal and mountain natives, West Indians, Afro-Antillanos, European, Chinese, and Indian immigrants, and a high percentage of people of mixed race, over 70% of the population. Discovered by Rodrigo de Bastidas, it belonged to the Spanish crown for over 3 centuries, until 1821, when it voluntarily joined Colombia and abandoned its condition as a Spanish colony. Finally, at the start of the 20th century, it separated from Colombia and became its own country. The official language of the Republic of Panama is Spanish, although the majority of the population speak perfect English. The government system is a republic, and its economy is internationally known as one of the most solid in the continent. Crouched down, they spend the day in the bowls and vases that the seabed has to offer. Traveling a few meters in search of a new location to guarantee their survival becomes their only objective. The darkness, which accompanies the weakest on the barrier reef, slowly gives way to the light of day. It's in this new intense blue that how to go unnoticed becomes a real art. There are still places in the world where one can enjoy relaxing far from the regular tourist traps. And this is the case of Portobelo in the north of Panama. Here, the great advantage is the ability to find, far from the madding crowd, a quality diving center which can offer us its services. Such a place certainly does exist, and it's called Two Oceans Divers. With the diving center facilities right there at the hotel, deep sea diving becomes simple and fast. Having everything you need so close to your hotel room is an advantage that the diver will come across in very few parts of the world. The distances from the port to the diving point are quite short, with most of them less than 20 minutes away, allowing for various sorties in a single morning and a return to the comfort and convenience of the resort between immersions for a little relaxation or to be replenished by its delicious food. The diving is varied, but the most common is no deeper than 30 meters, promoting nitrox diving, which allows for more time at the bottom and makes diving safer. The temperature of the water is quite warm, around 28 degrees Celsius at its coldest and close to 30 degrees in summer. Therefore, the diver is recommended to use a 2mm suit or even a shorty for people who are sensitive to heat. The feeling is of exclusivity in a hidden place, in a lost paradise, surrounded by mangrove swamps and with a private marina in the club. The atmosphere is friendly and the service makes you feel at home, which enhances the diver's enjoyment. In the calmness of the night, on the remains of historic battles, a few solitary figures walk around, remembering names such as Drake or Morgan. Throughout the morning, the hustle and bustle slowly builds up. New armies start to assemble and parade for their solidarity and mutual safety. Located at the south end of Central America, Panama is considered one of the most important and influential isthmus of the world. Crossed entirely from north to south by its famous canal, its territory is formed by lowlands, prairies, and hills. Since it is a narrow strip of land between two oceans, the Atlantic to the north and the Pacific to the south, its climate is tropical and extremely humid. Vegetation is abundant all over, home to 10,000 species of plants. Due to its closeness to South America, it is one of the most biodiverse countries in the area, as much above water as below. The depths are of particular interest due to the immense varieties of coral that live there. Hundreds of corridors filled with spectacular sponges flank paths in the sand. The majority of life forms found here are small, tropical, and varied, although specimens of predators typical from the Caribbean can also be spotted. Another of the features of the area is based on its history as a land of conquerors and of its battle against piracy. Increasingly frequent discoveries are bringing pieces of history to light at very accessible locations. The bowls and vases, which house the smallest of life forms, appear as fragile as paper, delicate containers with delicate contents. Adapted to the strength of the sea, they resist the sea's current, cold, with manners and movements that show their competence in these surroundings. From the very first moment you set foot in Panama City, it is clear that this capital is very different from the rest of Central America. Set deep with the exuberance of nature, it contains all the ingredients for relaxing a few days. A perfect way to spend one's transit time through Panama City. Lost in the middle of a jungle crossed only by a single road, a space opens up among between the thickness, revealing the location of Hotel Coco Plum. At beach level and adjoining the diving center, it is the perfect strategic location for a more relaxed stay. In the shadow of its doorways and next to its picturesque and rustic rooms, you can find its restaurant. There, you can taste the fish brought in by the local fishermen, served with tubers, especially the yuca. It can be combined with meats and hamburgers, inherited by the clear influence of the North Americans. with the passing hours and during the course of the day, the sea offers you unforgettable moments and places where solitude prevails. Along the corridors, which are decorated by the beauty of the deep, there are sanctuaries for meditation, for chance meetings, and for understanding the origins of this sea. The country's capital, Panama City, is modern and energetic with over 700,000 inhabitants. This city has been named Patrimony of Humanity by UNESCO. Its highest point is the Archon Peak, and its top, a local flag the size of a basketball court waves. Built on the shores of the Pacific, it was the first Hispanic city created next to the ocean, and throughout its history, it has been a stopover for commerce from the old continent. Panama City has been so highly esteemed and desired that even the pirate Henry Morgan tried to gain control of it. Thanks to its geographical location and to the construction of the Panama Canal, which united the Atlantic Ocean with the Pacific, Panama City has become one of the most important banking centers in the world. Called Latin America's skyscraper city, the enormous, attractive, and modern buildings form the skyline, gifting it with special charisma and personality. Dependencies, necessary exchanges for coexistence and cohabitation, lead to perfect symbiosis, separating will and necessity by a thin line. The balance of dependence is tipped towards the weakest, as their need to survive at whatever cost creates situations of clear discomfort. The Panama Canal was the original idea of King Carlos V of Spain, although he was unable to carry it out due to the lack of resources. After him, there were several attempts, until finally, on August 3, 1914, an American freighter crossed the canal between the two oceans for the very first time. Built and managed by the Americans since the beginning of the 21st century until its administration was passed on to the Panamanian government, it's 80 kilometers in length and 13 in width, turn it into an incomparable existing piece of engineering. Over 13,000 boats annually cross the canal. Although most of today's boats can pass through the canal, due to the recent trend towards construction of larger boats, the canal's administration is building another extra set of wider and deeper locks ready for the new boats. Nighttime comes to an end, and the tranquility of the Caribbean is flooded by a rainbow of color. The understudies become the protagonists of the daily goings-on. The injuries on show reveal who are the defeated. In their eyes, you can sense the arrival to the end of innocence and loss of trust.